All right, everyone, good afternoon. We're going to start something that I've been wanting to introduce to you all for a long time, something that I find fascinating and a lot of fun to do, and it's good for you, just like vegetables, which everyone loves to eat. So, this is called form drawing, and it's a kind of drawing that is something that's very good for kids of all ages, including myself, to do. It increases the coordination between your hands and your fingers and your arms, and it helps you really understand a lot of shapes and art and colors, and it allows you to experience them and make them for yourself. And so today we're going to start with our first lesson, and I just want to introduce the very basics of what we're doing. Now you might say, Mr. Erickson, this is way too easy for me. And that might be true. You might be, you will have been able to have made these shapes and forms for a long time, but maybe not everyone can. And we're eventually going to get into more and more interesting and complicated patterns and shapes, and we'll work our way up to things that even I might need a lot of practice doing. But first, I want to introduce you to some of the materials I'm going to be working with during these lessons. So right now I've got a little mini chalkboard in front of me, and I've got my really beautiful, colorful chalks over here. And today, at least, this is what I'm going to be using the most. But you might not have one of these. That's okay. What I would recommend for you to use are colored pencils. I've got a huge bag of colored pencils here. I've got a little box of them here, and I've got some nice paper to work on. If you've just got computer paper, that's fine too, but I would recommend using something that doesn't have lines on it, because that might throw you off a little bit. So try and find some blank paper. It doesn't have to be in a book like this. This is some sketching paper that I have. You might have markers. That's okay too to use. I wouldn't recommend, they wouldn't be my first choice. My first choice would be crayons, and then colored pencils, and then eventually we're going to start using some watercolor paints here. I'm not going to touch these today, but I might use my colored pencils a little bit later on. All right? But first, here we are with our blackboard. And I'd like to talk about color a little bit first with you, because color we're going to be using for all of these forms. And I just want to talk about which colors to use, because I'm not going to tell you which colors you have to use. You can choose your colors on your own. And I have a couple suggestions about how to choose which colors you want to use. So I've got a picture here very similar to a rainbow. All right, I've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and a very dark blue called indigo, and then kind of a reddish, purplish called violet. All right, when you look at a rainbow, you always have these colors in this exact same order. It's just part of the way God designed the world and the way that light works. It's made up of all these different shades of colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. If you haven't learned that yet, you can remember it by thinking about a person named Roy, R-O-Y, the middle initial G, Biv, B-I-V. It's a very strange name, isn't it? Roy G. Biv. But that'll help you remember the colors. Roy, R for red, O for orange, Y for yellow, G for green, B for blue, I for indigo, and V for violet. Roy G. Biv. So, when I ask you to choose a color, or eventually colors, because we'll be using more than one color, what you can do are make lines. You can first use red, then you can use orange, then you can use yellow. If we're making lines like this or making other shapes, you can use those colors, and they look pretty nice together if you want to make lines like this. What you can also do, we'll talk more about this later, is you can use colors that work well together that are not right next to each other, that are actually kind of far away from each other. For instance, you can use red. This is a nice bright red I've got here. Look at that. Wow. Nice bright red. And you can use green. right next to that. These are like Christmas colors, but they look really nice. It kind of almost looks like a rose with the bright red flowers and then the green petals, or sorry, the green leaves. You could use kind of this is sort of a brownish golden color here. You could use that with purple or indigo or violet. Those look pretty nicely together, pretty good together too. You can use these colors together. The last one, what do I want to do? Ooh, maybe a little orange. Nice orange color here. And blue would be great. I'm gonna see, this color doesn't show up too well. Ooh, but actually that's starting to look really nice if you can see that. So you see how these pairs of colors, we call them complementary colors. They complement each other, just like if I were to compliment you on your hair or on the clothes that you have and say they look really nice, that would be a compliment. These colors say nice things about each other in that way. They complement each other. So if I have us do different colors at the same time, you can do these complementary colors. These are three of the biggest and greatest examples. But you can also come back and do them in order here. So that's our little short lesson on color. But now I want to teach you our first two forms. And they're very simple forms. All right, so before you start drawing, let's just look at them. Which color should I pick? I've got so many choices here. How about we do this light green? This is one of my favorite colors here. All right, so our first form is very simply the straight line. Just like that. Now, whenever we learn a new form, I'm going to show it to you on a chalkboard or on a piece of paper. All right, but then this is very important. This is a very important step. We cannot skip this step. As crazy as it sounds, even for something as simple as a straight line, the first thing we do is we stand up. Make sure I push in our chair. And we walk the form. So for this one, all I'm going to do is walk in a straight line. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go over there in a straight line. Just like that. Ta-da! There's our first form. And now I can walk it back, just like that. So that's our first step to learning the form. I'm going to draw it for you, and then we're going to get up and walk it. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw it, but not with our hands. We're going to draw it with our noses. So can you make a straight line? Maybe start up at the top of our invisible page in front of us and draw a straight line with your nose, just like that. I know this looks pretty weird, but it's going to help you draw these forms, especially when they start to get a little bit more intricate. All right. Then the last thing we do before we draw it is we draw it with our finger as big as we can in the air, a straight line, just like that. Now, we're ready. If you've done all three of those things, we're ready. Maybe you're at home and you've got your paper in front of you and you pick out a colored pencil. Let's see, I'm just going to pick one out without looking. What color did we end up with? Ooh, an interesting raw umber. That's a very interesting. I see a pencil sharpener in here. This one looks a little bit dull, so I'm gonna do a quick sharpen. If you have a sharpener like this, best to do it over top of a trash can, but this works too. All right, made it a little bit too sharp. All right, so now you've got your colored pencil or pen or crayon. We're gonna draw the form, just like that. Notice how I'm not really moving my wrist, I'm moving my arm. If you move your fingers or if you move your wrist, you can only go so far, but we want these to fill up the whole page, the entire page. So you really need to move your whole arm all at once, and you can keep these things still and steady. All right? If you'd like, you can draw another one. So this color, what would go really nicely with a color like this? This is very similar to an orange or a gold. So maybe I'll choose a blue to go next to this. There's really no wrong way to do this, but I'm going to practice again. I'm going to do another one. So watch. So simply draw this straight line, just like that. Great. And now maybe we can do, I think 2 colors is enough. Let's do another one. And we'll switch colors back to our raw umber, or whatever color you used first. There we go. You can see, if you're looking very carefully, these aren't perfectly straight, and that's okay. That's okay. It's kind of difficult to draw a perfectly straight line. So just keep practicing your nice long lines. All right, so that's our first form, and since we've got a little time, I'm going to teach you another one, bonus form. Since we all probably know what straight lines are, I'm going to teach us one more form. You're going to be like, Mr. Erickson, I've known this form since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, which is probably true. Let's choose a different color here. How about this? This is a nice pink color. I like this kind of rose color. All right, this next form, you're going to remember it. You're going to see it. It's the curved line. It looks like a C. Just like that. That's our curved line, form number 2. So remember what we do after I show it to you? This curved line. We're going to go walk a curved line. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to walk in a curved line around over to the door. So here we go, my curved line. Just like that. And then I'm going to walk it back. A nice big curved line. If you can do this outside, it might be a good place to do it outside. Remember what we do next? Draw with our nose. So can you make a nice big curved line with your nose? Just like that. And then maybe go back. You can do it a few times if you want. Step 3, draw it with our finger as big as we can in the air. Just like that. All right. And now we're ready. I'm going to find a new page. I'm going to set this over here. Oh, this looks like a fun color. I'm going to use this color. I'm going to draw a nice big, see how I'm going to fit up the whole page here, fit it inside this page, just like that. And again, notice I'm not really using my wrist, I'm not moving my wrist, I'm not moving my fingers very much, I'm keeping them steady, and I'm moving with my whole arm. That's going to help you make these really big shapes. So after you've mastered this, maybe you can do a slightly smaller C or curved line. After that, we can combine these 2 forms. Let me get a different color out. This is kind of a light green. I'm going to pair it with orange. They're not exactly complementary, but I think it's going to look interesting. After we do this, we can start doing patterns, combining our straight lines and our curved lines. We can start with a straight line. Maybe we could do it with the same color. We could do a curved line now. And then we could do another straight line. Maybe you want to come over my shoulder and watch when I draw. So we've got a straight line, a curved line, and a straight line. We could do 2 straight lines and 2 curved lines and 2 straight lines. The possibilities are endless. We can do 1, And I could change colors. I could do straight line again. And I could maybe go back to a curved line. Can go here. Those of you who are saying this is not that difficult, it's not really about being difficult. It's about just finding interesting patterns to do things. Another way you can change this up is just to do straight lines in different sizes. What about a smaller straight line, a larger straight line, and then maybe two smaller straight lines. Oh, Eleanor is with us. She's waking up. What about that? She's not so sure about that. So, this is our first lesson, the straight line and the curved line. I showed you some examples of color. Remember our good friend Roy G. Biv, and then the complementary colors. We learned how we're going to learn all of these patterns, how we're going to walk them out. It's going to be really interesting once we get to shapes like stars and loops, and even more complicated shapes than stars and loops. But for right now, we just learned the straight line and the curved line. So I would love to see some pictures of your form drawings. So hopefully you have a book kind of like this and you can take pictures and email them to me. Even if I'm not your teacher, if Miss Post is your teacher, or if any of the students in Miss Winslow's class want to do this as well, I'd love to see some pictures of what you're working on. So go ahead and send those to me. All right. Have a great day. I hope this was fun and enjoyable. We'll see you again, hopefully on Thursday for our next lesson. See ya.